Good afternoon. It's Sunday, March 15th. I'm Laura Cornfield, and this is IBA News, broadcasting from Jerusalem. We open in Paris, where the kosher supermarket extensively damaged in a terror attack on January 9th, in which 4 French Jews were murdered, reopened its doors for business today. IBA's Margot Didkevich has this report.
Freshly painted white, the Paris kosher supermarket opened its doors for business today, almost 9 weeks after 4 Jews were fatally shot by terrorist Mehdi Koulibaly. Wearing a black kippah, store owner Laurent Mimon told reporters the memories of the 4 Jews were the driving force for reopening the store, which took place under a heavy security presence. French Interior Minister Bernard Cazeneuve attended the opening and purchased a few bottles of wine, saying it proves that life is stronger than anything else. He promised the authorities would do everything to ensure that all French people be allowed to live freely. Inside the store, there was no trace of the horrific January 9th terror shooting, where Koulibaly gunned down and murdered the 4 and took others hostage, before he was killed by French security forces who stormed the premises to release the hostages. New staff members replaced workers still on sick leave and recovering from the deadly attack. The store shelves burst with newly stocked goods. Robert Ejne, the executive director of the Representative Council of Jewish Institutions of France, told reporters, the reopening of the supermarket shows that the Jewish community in France goes on with life. We want to show that whatever happens, life wins. The 4 victims, 21-year-old Yoav Khatab, 20-year-old Johan Cohen, 40-year-old Philippe Braham, and 64-year-old Françoise Michel Sada, were buried in Jerusalem on January 13th. After the deadly attack, French President François Hollande ordered the deployment of more than 5,000 security personnel to the streets to protect the country's Jewish schools and institutions. Margot Dudkevich, IBA News.
Talks between the West and Iran over its disputed nuclear program resumed in Lausanne, Switzerland today, with the aim of drawing up a framework deal by the end of the month and a final agreement by the end of June. Prior to setting out for Switzerland last night, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry expressed hope that the P5+1 countries, the United States, Britain, France, Germany, China, and Russia, would be able to reach a deal with the Islamic Republic by the end of the month.
You all know we have set the end of the month as the deadline, and so we will be going into this understanding that time is critical. I can't tell you whether or not we can get a deal or whether we're close, and President Obama remains committed to a 2-state solution and remains hopeful that when whatever choice the people of Israel make, that there will be an ability to be able to move forward on those efforts.
It's 2 days until Super Tuesday, and the final push for votes is underway. Will Prime Minister Netanyahu cement his legacy or be resigned to history? Here with more is IBA's political correspondent, Eli Walgerlanter.
With 39 hours to go before the polls open Tuesday morning, the scramble for every last vote is now at fever pitch. The ruling Likud regime is in jeopardy, with an average of all the final week's polls from last week showing the Zionist Union with a lead over Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's Likud of 2.8 seats. To counter Likud's falling fortunes, a right-wing rally entitled United for the Land of Israel will be held tonight in the same place where an anti-Netanyahu rally took place 8 days ago in Rabin Square in Tel Aviv. Many leaders from different parties are expected to speak, including Netanyahu and several ministers from both Likud and Bayit Yehudi, as well as Eli Yishai, the head of Yachad. Transportation Minister Yisrael Katz of Likud said last night that because upcoming elections are so critical to the future of the state, there must be compulsory participation for the rally. The media and the elite are mobilized to bring down Likud and bring power to the left and the Arabs, so we cannot sit idly by, Katz said in a call urging the public to attend. And former Deputy Defense Minister Danny Danon stressed to constituents the importance of attending the rally, saying this is a critical time for all national camp believers to return home to Likud. In another attempt to consolidate his center-right coalition and keep supporters from straying, Netanyahu offered to make Kulanu leader Moshe Kachlon the finance minister. I think that realistically I cannot form a government without him, Netanyahu told Israel Radio this morning. He will get the finance ministry, and Kachlon and I together will solve the housing and cost of living problem, just as we did with cellular phones. But Kachlon, who has said he could back either Netanyahu or Isaac Herzog of Zionist Union for prime minister, rebuffed the proposal, dismissing it as campaign spin. Netanyahu had already promised me the Israel Lands Administration and the Finance Ministry in the past, but did not keep his word, said Kachlon. We are 48 hours before the election, and there was no doubt that this would happen. The aim is to take votes from Kulanu and transfer them elsewhere. I am not asking the Prime Minister to make me Finance Minister. I'm asking the Israeli people. Meanwhile, despite declining to debate Herzog during the campaign, Netanyahu had a brief encounter with his key opponent on television last night, the exchange focusing on security and diplomatic issues. The Prime Minister accused the Zionist Union leader of failing to support his government's building of Jewish homes in Jerusalem neighborhoods claimed by the Palestinians, as well as his stance against the Iranian nuclear program. Herzog responded by stating that the security of Israel is the Zionist Union's top priority and that Netanyahu's approach to these issues had cost Israel international support. The security of Israel is dear to us more than anything else, Herzog said. We know how to take care of it, and we will take care of it. Tonight's rally in Rivlin Square is scheduled to take place at 7 o'clock, with Netanyahu set to speak at 8. Laura?
Thank you, Eli. As part of our election coverage on March 17th, in addition to our daily news at 4, IBA English News will be bringing you a special election night broadcast next Tuesday at 11:30 p.m. with all of the early results. Our reporting staff will be deployed at all of the leading party headquarters for live results. That's Tuesday night at 11:30. The U.S. Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Subcommittee has launched a bipartisan investigation into funding of the V-15 campaign, which seeks to replace the government in Israel. According to the report, the One Voice movement received $350,000 from the State Department, which was used to fund the V-15's campaign to remove Prime Minister Netanyahu from office. The committee deliberations are secret, and they will have subpoena powers. The report follows Netanyahu's allegation last week that foreign governments were behind the so-called Anyone But Bibi campaign. One Voice announced that it will cooperate with the inquiry, and they are confident that no wrongdoing will be found. Because of his tax-exempt status, One Voice is legally prohibited from campaigning directly against Netanyahu. President Rivlin will try to facilitate the formation of a national unity government led by both the Likud and the Zionist Union. Speaking last night, Rivlin said that he will not force unity, but he would be willing to mediate between likely frontrunners, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and opposition leader Isaac Herzog. In private conversations, Rivlin reportedly said that the results indicated by the final polls do not show a clear victory, and that makes a unity government necessary. Both Netanyahu and Herzog continue to rule out the formation of a national unity government. The number of foreign journalists covering Israel has almost doubled in the past few days as international media parachuted in to cover this week's national elections. The government press office is going all out to give them access to the political players and show them a vibrant democracy in action. IBA's Ari O'Sullivan visited the GPO and filed this report.
In the last 5 or 6 days, almost 200 journalists came all over the world, 1/3 from Europe, all the rest from South and North America, to cover this election. And this election affect the international agenda, and therefore the journalists, the foreign media all over the world came to Israel to cover this election. Their interest about the political platforms, their interest about what will happen in the Middle East, etc., and they are in attention to get to know what will happen 2 days from now.
What is the GPO going to do? Are you setting up a special booth or camp?
Right. The GPO organized a kit with material about all the parties' platforms, and for the election day, at the evening, we will do a big convention at Tel Aviv to get to know all the parties all over Israel, and the foreign journalists could interview the leaders of the parties at the party's quarter, and they can do it online, they can do it in different languages, and we hope that it will be a big celebration for the Israeli democracy.
Now, tell me about some of the visiting foreign correspondents. Where are they coming from? Are there any from Arab countries?
Most of the journalists coming from English languages, mainly from America, Great Britain, only little coming from Arab country, but we still have 2 days, so they might come.
For Japan, it's the Middle East and Israel. I mean, this region is very far from Japan, but this country, Israel, the people in Japan, they think that this country has a lot of influence on this region or to the whole world. So that's why people are paying attention to this election.
What's it like to report in Israel? Is it easy?
It's difficult because Japanese people, usually they don't know much about Israel. So we have to explain what's happening here and how this country is.
This year's election has drawn more international coverage than in previous years, perhaps because journalists sense a dramatic change in the air.
Till Tuesday, we will have more than 200 journalists coming to cover this election in Israel, and in addition to almost 300 journalists that based in Israel and cover the Israeli society on daily basis. Therefore, together, we are talking about almost 500 journalists that come in here to cover the election, and this is a big celebration for the Israel democracy. The previous election, there wasn't tension between big two parties. This time, the foreign media think that it's much more affect the international agenda, and we are talking about 200 foreign journalists that come in all over the world, which is almost double for the previous election. So you can tell me why it's so interesting foreign media. I can only guess.
Regardless of the election results, anyone can guess that this is definitely one of the top international news stories in the world. But after the results are known and the political horse trading begins, Foreign Press Focus will likely find another fire to report. Ariel O'Sullivan for IBA News.
An indictment was filed today against the terrorist who was neutralized in front of City Hall last month by Jerusalem Mayor Nir Barkat and his bodyguard. The 17-year-old Palestinian suspect allegedly entered Israel through the security barrier, stole a knife, and stabbed an ultra-Orthodox man in his stomach. The teenager was taken down by Barkat and apprehended by the mayor and his security detail. The suspect has been charged with attempted murder. He was also charged with throwing pipe bombs and Molotov cocktails at IDF forces during Operation Protective Shield. Israeli and Qatari officials reportedly met to discuss ways to accelerate the construction of homes in Gaza, damaged during last summer's war between Israel and Hamas. Local Palestinian media reports said Israeli coordinator of government activities in the territories, Major General Yoav Mordechai, met last week with Mohammed El Ahmedi, head of the Qatari Committee to Rebuild Gaza. Talks focused on ways of speeding up the delivery of construction materials and funds to the Gaza Strip. The meeting came despite the fact that there are no diplomatic ties between the two countries. Qatar last year pledged a $1 billion aid package to assist in the rebuilding of Gaza and launched a project to construct 1,000 homes. Rumors concerning the whereabouts of Russian President Vladimir Putin continue to mystify the world and have spread far beyond Russia's borders, with countries across the globe speculating as to his whereabouts. His absence from the public eye for more than 10 days has fueled an array of rumors, some claiming the 62-year-old leader is dead, others claiming he traveled to Switzerland to visit his mistress, who gave birth to their daughter, and some say Putin is suffering from a severe bout of flu. In the Ukraine, an animation company turned children's drawings showing the Russian leader was abducted by aliens into a cartoon. While the Kremlin sought to downplay the rumors, insisting it was business as usual, Russia's state television broadcast footage of Putin meeting with the state prosecutor. However, they were later found to have been archive shots and not recently taken. Pope Francis says he would rather resign than remain in the Vatican for life. In an interview with the Mexican broadcaster Televisa to mark the second anniversary since taking up office, the Pope said he feels my pontificate will be brief, 4 or 5 years. I do not know, even 2 or 3. He went on to say he feels the Lord has placed me here for a short time and nothing more. Pope Francis has hinted in the past he could retire and has said he is opposed to the idea of an age limit for leaders of the Catholic Church. 2 years ago, he praised Pope Benedict's decision to step down, calling it courageous. And with the Knesset election campaign winding down, Haaretz and Amy Amiga decided to have some quick time with candidates across the political spectrum in order to get to know them better with a series of identical questions.
it's not so easy because the distance, cultural distance from Jerusalem to Tel Aviv is greater than the cultural distance from Jerusalem to Washington. Hummus. Wine. iPhone. Seinfeld. Snow. Football. Level. Favorite movie, Master and Commander. Favorite book would have to be For Whom the Bell Tolls. Irish.
Tel Aviv, easy. Trina. Depends on the event. They're both dangerous drugs, by the way. iPhone, I'm an addict, unfortunately. Seinfeld, definitely. Beach, of course. Soccer, my brother is a player. Falafel, I'm vegan. Wow. An Israeli one. Rock.
Wow, it's tough. I live in Tel Aviv. I like Tel Aviv, but Jerusalem is the heart. Hummus. Wine. iPhone. Friends. Beach. Football. Hamburger. Wow, favorite one movie? One? Hair. Wow, I have many. But let's say אביב חלדו של אניטה שפירא about יגאל אלון. רוק.
Jerusalem. Hummus. Neither, I can't drink alcohol. iPhone. Seinfeld. Beach. Oh boy, that's hard. Playing basketball, watching football. Falafel, vegetarian. Either Hoosiers or was it high school, Robin Williams, Dead Poets Society, yeah. The Prime Ministers. Simon and Garfunkel. That's it.
I actually want to live in the desert. Henna, obviously. Wine, red, and red. Oh, that's tough. Do I have to choose? Both. Falafel. Music. I listen to so many kinds of music, and even and I play a few instruments because I could never choose one instrument to focus on. I started from a piano and then moved to drums and then guitar and then oud and then singing. Music is not something that you can really be too selective. We can never choose there.
Jerusalem. Hummus. Water or diet grapefruit.
I use iPhone. Friends. A beach. We are here in Israel. Or basketball if I have to choose. Falafel. Oblomov. Plato, Plato philosophical writings. Classical music, especially Johann Sebastian Bach.
Coming at the end of a brutal election campaign, we could all use a drink. So the Whiskey Live Festival is back in Tel Aviv next week, Tuesday through Thursday. For 119 shekels, visitors are given the opportunity to taste more than 300 kinds of whiskey. The Whiskey Live event is held in countries around the world and offers classes in whiskey tasting and a chance to get to meet master distillers from abroad. It's happening at the Meyerhoff Gallery in Tel Aviv, March 24th until March 26th. So, L'chaim, hope to see you there. And don't forget to bring a designated driver. Taking a look at local finance, with no currency trading on Sundays, the shekel remains the same, while share prices on the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange started off the trading week in the minus column. Turning to the weather, and temperatures will remain the same tomorrow under slightly cloudy skies. We're sorry we don't have any of those numbers for you, a little technical difficulties. And that's all for this evening's broadcast. Thank you for being with us. This programming note before leaving you is part of our election coverage on March 17th. In addition to our daily news at 4 p.m., IBA English News will be bringing you a special election night broadcast this Tuesday at 11:30 p.m. with all of the early results. Ari O'Sullivan will be here tomorrow, the same time, the same channel. Until then, I'm Laura Cornfield, wishing you a good evening and shalom from Jerusalem.